Hey there, this is Cortland from JigSkinz. I'm here with some of the lures I made the other day. I've got them turning on my rack here. These have a coat of epoxy on them. This is the one from the glue video that I showed the other day. And I've just taken it with some hot water, taken a ladle and spooned water over the top of it. I did not submerge this lure because of the activation between the water and the glue. I didn't want to get any water behind the skin. You can sort of see some of the glue lines here. This one's not ready for epoxy yet. I'm actually going to go back and hit it with the heat gun and remelt that glue and get a little bit better bond between them. Depending on the glue manufacturer that you're using, it's good to revisit that bond the next day and really heat it up and put some pressure on it to the point where through here where you can see those sort of seams have disappeared. That means you've gotten a really good bond between the skin and the glue. These lures up here, I did that with already. They have one coat of epoxy on them, and typically I'll do 3. If you're going with a floating bait, you've got to be careful about the weight of the epoxy that you're putting on them. These are all sinking stick baits, so I can go pretty crazy with the amount of epoxy I put on. I use a product called Tar Bender, and the reason I do, I've tried every one of them. I've tried Pro Coat, E-Tex, a lot of the UV Cure epoxies. The thing that I like about the Tar Bender is it's the only one that I've found that actually bonds to the skin. This is a prototype skin that I did with one coat of Tar Bender on it, and you can actually break this, and the skin is one piece. If you've ever tried to pull one of these skins apart, they're very tough material, but this Tar Bender bonds with the skin and forms one solid unit. So what we've done with the adhesive under the lure is we've bonded the skin to the lure, and the Tar Bender, we're bonding the epoxy to the top. So we're making one solid unit. It will still crack, under a lot of pressure. They'll separate from each other. But as far as lure building goes, it's almost as good as a coat of paint. Some of the high-end lure builders are putting up to 10 or 12 coats of epoxy on their lures. I use 3 thick coats of Tar Bender, and I get a really nice finish out of it. I'm not too particular about bubbles and other little things in there. You can take the torch. I'm sure a lot of you lure builders are way better at it, than I am, but I think you'd say that for $1 or $2 for the skin over a lure that you were never going to use again, you can create some pretty good stuff. So this is a 4-rack fishing rod dryer that I've sort of recommissioned into a lure turner, and this Tar Bender takes about 16 hours to fully cure. So this coat of epoxy was put on yesterday. I'll turn these off. I'm going to mix some of this up, and I'm going to start putting on the second coat. So this particular product is a 2-to-1 ratio product. So I'm going to put the thinner liquid in here, 5 milliliters, pour it out into a clean container that we're going to mix in. And we have part A of this, which is the thicker product. It's going to be 10 milliliters of that. This stuff is so thick that sometimes I stick it in warm water to loosen it up a little bit before I do this. And the biggest thing that I've found, and it's taken me a while to figure it out, is the mixing time. So once I clean this cup out, I'll actually set the stopwatch on my phone, 3 minutes. And if you think you know how long 3 minutes is, you'll, at least me, I stop mixing way before 3 minutes. So I make sure that I measure the product very well, and I set my stopwatch on my phone here. See the product be in 2 layers and slowly start to mix together. It actually keeps a little bit of a yellow tint to it. but when it dries totally clear. Make sure you scrape the stick off. Yeah, it seems like an hour. It's been 1 minute and 20 seconds. Three minutes. And we've got a fairly runny, bubbly mixture that we're going to put on these lures here. So I've got these fairly fancy big brushes. I find that the finer the bristles are, the better the coat is. I don't have an air gun or anything, and I bought some of the cheap brushes from some of the lure building and rod building places, and they just don't do a good job. So the problem is that these are throwaways. So find some good cheap throwaways. You basically get one coat of epoxy. I have not found a way how to get this particular product out of the or to clean them, if you will. These are a little bit big. I'm sort of on my last leg with the brushes here, but what I do is I'll just coat this on. Again, I'm not all that concerned about the bubbles. Rod rack's nice. I've got these lures strung out really tight. And I can just turn it. As far as quantity for epoxy, I'm doing, these are about 120 gram stick baits, and I mix about 15 milliliters per coat. You start getting into, if I'm doing like 4 big poppers or something like that, you might need to mix upwards of 30 milliliters per coat. And obviously small lures, less. If I do small lures, I'll actually zip tie them end to end, and I can fit 2 across in the rack here. So I could do, I could do up to 8 small lures in here. But the key with this product for me, because I put on a pretty heavy coat, is to keep them turning. And the last thing that I do, but I'll do it now, is I get a nice big coat right here on the nose, and it will go over the edge of the skin. Smooth anything out. I do the same thing on the back. Get a pretty big blob on the brush. And I really like to coat that tail weight. After 3 coats, it gives a really neat finish on the end there. Like I said, I'll do 3 coats on these. So I'll do these other 3 lures here, and I'll let them spin till tomorrow morning and put 1 more coat on it. And then I'll be done. I don't do any sanding. I break out my little guides here. That keeps the swivel from getting full of epoxy. After every coat of epoxy, I'll snap those out, make sure that they're loose, so that you get 3 coats of epoxy on there, it'll bond them together, and you'll have a tough time getting them out. But 1 more day, and I'll be done.